The biggest part of Snow White that intrigued me to the story, and that I've always grown up loving, is I think every little girl has a little bit of snow in them. I think that that wide-eyed, innocent, just wanting to explore and the unknown as well as finding yourself. That's a big part of growing up in general. And Snow goes through the course of starting out as this innocent young girl to growing into a young woman, and she finds herself through her friends that she meets along the way, and also by empowering herself just by experiencing life and going out into the wilderness, and in our movie, you know, fighting battles and meeting the dwarves. And I think that there's so much color in this story as well. Like physically, there's a lot of bright colors, but also just color to the story. You know, so many different journeys that she goes on emotionally as well as physically, and I think it's such a bright story in so many ways, and I feel like a lot of young girls can relate to her. Our Snow White is about a young girl who has been locked away in a castle by her wicked stepmother, played by the awesome Julia Roberts. And she starts out as very much the fairy tale princess that everyone grew up loving and knowing. Very innocent, not knowing anything bad or negative going on in the kingdom. And her fairy tale godmother-esque figure, Baker Margaret, enlightens her and tells her that everything is not as it seems, and she really needs to go out and regain her kingdom and just go experience things because she's been locked away. And she goes out on this adventure, sees the village and sees what it has been turned into because of the wicked stepmother taking over, and she realizes she needs to take control. And through her journeys of meeting the 7 dwarves, who really turn out to be somewhat of mentors to her, they teach her about empowering herself and you know, believing in oneself, and she really fights for her own kingdom and to gain it back. And in the end, she turns into a young woman who has fallen in love in the process of winning her kingdom back. And she turns into a fighter, which is in some ways different than the original fairy tale, because she really takes on many battles, sword fights, and she's modernized in a way where in this story the princess almost saves the prince at the end instead of the prince saving the princess. So in that sense, it's a fun way to play it. They come back saying the queen's getting married, and I think it's automatically the baron because he's been trying to marry Julia for a while, and they say the prince, and I'm automatically affected by feelings I don't necessarily understand because I've never been in love before, but I know that there's something wrong with the situation, and we have, you know, I've lost him to the queen in my eyes, but the dwarves see that there's love there and they won't give up, so they encourage me to join them in stealing the prince back from the queen's wedding, and it turns out that he is in fact under a spell. But you know, you can imagine the seven dwarves and I coming into the wedding and breaking it up and causing mayhem and stealing Army away under a spell, which we then bring back to the dwarves' house and try to break it with all sorts of crazy, funny torture that I'm sure he loved shooting. And ultimately I throw water on him, and then obviously the kiss is what really breaks the spell. The ending of the movie is the huge dance number where you're celebrating life, you're celebrating believing in yourself, and basically spring is back, and the flowers are blooming, the color is back in all of the land, everything's going to be okay, and it's just kind of a celebration of life, and we all parade out of the castle singing and dancing. It's like I lead the pack and everyone comes and swirls behind me, and it is just a celebration of color, life, love, believing in yourself, and I think it's the perfect way to end the story because it's something for everyone. Like I said, you know, I think there's a little bit of snow in every young girl, and I think that this celebration of life can be put towards any situation and any person. It's just kind of letting loose and letting yourself be you. The costumes are out of this world. I always wanted to do a period piece, and these costumes are, they're couture. I mean, they're wearing art. I only have 4 in the movie, but those 4 are so different and they're so beautiful. And I get a workout wearing them every day. They take about 20 minutes to get on. I'm sewn up the back every day. I'm corseted. But the colors, the feeling of them, they represent the different stages of snow. I go from being the young princess, which is this outfit, to having the white ball gown, which goes through stages of being dirtier, from the costume ball to the dwarf house. Then my fighter outfit, which is what Napoleon kind of decks me out in. And then I probably have to say my favorite is my wedding dress, just because of the color and kind of the iconic nature of the overall look.